What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you 3 recent returns that I got back in the mail, profile each of the individuals that signed for me, and tell you a little bit about their careers and what they did after their careers. So let's just jump right into this. And the first one is a return from former Cleveland Browns tight end Oscar Roan on 4 of 4. Oscar unfortunately didn't use the strongest Sharpie here, but that's the risk you take when you send TTM. Sometimes guys just grab whatever pen they got laying around, but at least it's signed in Sharpie. That's better than ink pen, I suppose. So let me tell you about Oscar Roan and his career in football. Oscar Roan grew up in Texas, in the Dallas area. He went on to play briefly at UCLA in California. However, after not getting any playing time, he decided to transfer back to his home state and play at Southern Methodist University. Southern Methodist will come into play later on in Oscar's career, and I'll touch base on that here in a second. But while at Southern Methodist University, Oscar played both tight end and wide receiver. He played in 11 games each year. His final year at SMU in 1974, he had 4 touchdowns. Well, he was selected in the 3rd round of the 1975 draft by the Cleveland Browns. And you ask, well, what's the significance of SMU? Well, this is important because Oscar's team that drafted him, the Cleveland Browns, were actually coached by Hall of Famer Forrest Gregg, who was an alumni at SMU. And Forrest Gregg, most well known as a Green Bay Packer, was at the point of his life where he was coaching. And Oscar joined the Cleveland Browns that first year at tight end. And unfortunately, that Browns team was not the best team, finishing the year with just a 3-11 record that year. Well, Oscar started 13 of the 14 games at tight end that year in 1975 for the Browns. He had 41 receptions for 463 yards that year, scoring 3 touchdowns. Well, the following year in 1976, the Browns would improve their record, and he would start in 11 of 11 games that year for the Browns, having his season cut a little bit short due to injury. In 1977, he would return, but would appear in just 10 games, starting 8 of them in 1977. And by 1978 with the Browns, he was not a starter anymore, but he appeared in just 14 games, but had no touchdowns and very little receptions that season at all. Well, after the 1978 season, the 6'6" tight end decided to retire from football, and he moved back to Texas. After his playing career in the NFL, he and his wife decided to start a ministry service. So as of today, and I'll put a link down here at the bottom, as of today, Oscar Roan is a minister, and he goes around and does his ministry work still to this day in Texas. So kind of a cool way to cap off your career, I guess you would say, as a football player, but now he's a man of God, and it's quite amazing. I've done a lot of football videos, finding that after their playing career, they go into a life of ministry. Mike Barber comes to mind as well. And ironically, he was in Texas as well. So we'll move on to the next return. All right, this next one is a return from another Texas guy. Texas in college, I should say. And that is former running back Norm Bulaich on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let me tell you about Norm Bulaich and his career in football. Norm Bulaich was born on Christmas in 1946 in Galveston, Texas. He would later go on to college to play at Texas Christian University, which is very well known for their football program. He was selected by the Baltimore Colts in the 1970 NFL Draft with the 1st round pick that year by the Colts. Well, immediately in 1970, Norm would make an impact with the Baltimore Colts. He would start in 12 games at running back for the Colts, and that year he would go to play in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowl V. Well, the following year he would shift over in 1971 to fullback, and he would appear in 13 more games at fullback, where he would have a career high in 741 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. Well, in that 1971 season, he would actually set a Colts record of 198 yards rushing against the New York Jets on September 19th, 1971. This record would be held until Edgar and James broke it in 2000 with 219. Later in that 71 season, Bulaich would be named to the AFC Pro Bowl squad. He was also featured on the cover of the 1971 November issue of Sports Illustrated. In 1972, he would appear in just 6 games due to some injuries, and after that 72 season with the Colts, they would trade him to the Philadelphia Eagles, which is that card right there. Well, at the Eagles, he would return to his starting ways, playing both fullback and running back, appearing in 14 games, starting 14 of them, and rushing for 436 yards that year in Philadelphia. In 1974, he would appear in 11 games, primarily at fullback for the Philadelphia Eagles. After spending just 2 seasons with the Eagles, he would then be traded to the Miami Dolphins. He would spend from 1975 to 1979 playing for the Dolphins. Over 120 career games with the Colts, Dolphins, and Eagles. Bulaich rushed for 3,362 yards, scoring 30 touchdowns, averaging 4.1 yards per carry. He also made 224 receptions for over 1,700 yards and 11 touchdowns as a receiver in the backfield as well. After retiring from the NFL, Bulaich returned back to his home state of Texas, and he actually became an executive for a waste management company. So after his playing career, he got into the waste management industry, and he had a successful executive career in that after that. So I want to thank Mr. Bulaich for signing for me, and we'll move on to the next one. All right, this next one is from former New England Patriots great Tony Collins on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let me tell you about Tony Collins and his career in football. So Tony Collins was born in Florida, and he grew up as one of 16 siblings. So he had 15 brothers and sisters growing up in Florida and New York. He would go to the Penn Yan Academy in Penn Yan, New York, where he would play high school football. Well, in 1976, he would help Penn Yan Academy, the Mustangs, win the New York State Class B championship. After high school, Collins attended East Carolina University and was selected in the second round of the 1981 NFL Draft by the New England Patriots. In 1981, he made an immediate impact at the Patriots, starting in 11 of 16 games for the Patriots that season. The following year, in 1982, he only appeared in 9 games for the Patriots. And I'm not going to get into too many details, but let's just say he had a little problem conquering his personal demons while he was a player. And I'm not, one of the things that I always do on this channel is I never talk negatively about anybody. So I'm just going to say that he had some demons that he had to conquer in that 82 season, only appearing in 9 games. Well, he would bounce back that following year, and we have the season of his career. In 1983, he would make his first and only Pro Bowl, starting in 16 of 16 games for the Patriots, rushing for over 1,000 yards at 1,049, scoring 10 touchdowns that year, and basically leading the team in almost all offensive categories. Well, in 1984, some troubles would arise again, and he would only start in 5 of 16 games for the Patriots. The following year again, he would bounce back, appearing in 16 of 16 games. However, he would only rush for about 657 yards. That would be when they went to go play the Chicago Bears in the famous Super Bowl that the Bears played in. This would be the team that would be, crushed by the Bears, that '85 Bears team that would go on to win the Super Bowl that year, posting a 15-1 record. After that, he would spend the 1987 season with the Patriots. However, after the '87 season, the Patriots would cut ties with Tony. He signed with the Indianapolis Colts in 1988. However, those demons arose again, and he had to sit out the entire 1988 season before he could come back. He did make a comeback in 1990 with the Miami Dolphins, and he appeared in a handful of games for the Dolphins. But after that 1990 season, the Dolphins decided to cut ties with him, and that was the end of his NFL career. Well, after his NFL career concluded, he stayed in Florida and actually signed with the Arena Football League Orlando Predators. Again, with some issues that he had, he was let go by the Orlando Predators, but he signed on with the Cincinnati Rockers the following year in the Arena League, and then he would return in 1993 to play for the Miami Hooters his final year in football. Well, after finding himself out of the league, in both leagues, both the Arena League and the other league, Tony decided to find the right way, and he decided to try to help college recruits and be an educational speaker, for the National Collegiate Scouting Association. He's hosted internet radio shows, sports talk shows, and finally he published a book titled in 2012, Broken Road, Turning My Mess into a Message. So this is an individual that during his younger days, he had some very big success very early on in his NFL career, and some of those demons came to haunt him where he was not able to conquer those demons, and ultimately it cost him what was probably the most important thing to him, was time in the NFL. And as he matured as an adult after his playing career, in both the NFL and the Arena League, he saw the light, so to speak, and now he tries to educate those and share his story so people don't go down the path that he went down. So thank you, Mr. Collins, very much for taking the time to sign my cards. Thank you, Norm Bulaich, as well, for signing my cards. And I also want to thank Oscar Roan, who also had a career way after his NFL career doing his ministry work. I don't know if you know these individuals that well, but I hope you enjoyed this episode. I look forward to your comments below, learning about some NFL players you may not have been aware of. Happy collecting.